Apologies.
All of your apologies are meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
They are meaningless.
I know.
Anyways, we're here for Depths of Gaming, episode 35.
Good evening, everybody.
Indeed, and we are here to essentially complain about video games for a while now.
Yeah, so we like to complain because we are old, we have our walking sticks at the ready, and we are itching for the reason to shake them.
We're like a bunch of Jim Sterlings, but no one knows who the fuck we are and no one cares. So actually not like Jim Sterling at all, really.
Yeah.
Pretty much if you took the bad parts of Jim Sterling and none of the good parts, that would probably be us.
Yeah, like the insatiable charisma.
Yeah. What's... like...
Okay.
Jim, like, I'm going to quickly say, Jim is by no means a beautiful man, yet he pulls it off.
Yeah. He's gracefully fat. Now, Stellaris segment.
Oh, that's right. We have our own show that we're doing as well. What, you mean we're not going to just talk about Jim Sterling for a couple hours?
No, fuck him.
It'll be the okay. Fuck him. We're here for us.
Yes.
Okay, so in grand Stellaris tradition, the new patch is going to completely fuck the meta.
Yes, apparently now you will no longer focus on planets as much as you will focus on star bases now.
Yeah, the third of the new dev diaries came out the other day, yesterday actually. It would have been fuck it. In at some point in time, there was a new one. And
yeah, that concept of time, that's so difficult to grasp.
Who are you again? So in their past games, there have been mechanics where you're not allowed to swoop up all the ground you want, but you actually have to use politics a little bit to get the Casus Belli to declare war, and that's going to come to Stellaris.
I see.
Now you lay claims to territory with influence, and so that kind of reserves it. And now there are more war goals and such, because something that Stellaris has always been made fun of is how easy it is to just blob out of control. It is extremely easy to just blob out of control because you can declare war, snatch up all their planets, declare another war 10 years later, snatch up the rest of their planets, and they're eliminated, and you just do that over and over again until the game takes so long between turns that you basically just turn off the game because you think you won. So that's kind of an issue that's been in Stellaris for the longest time. Ever since they made it so you couldn't stack Tachyon. So you're no longer able to just swoop through the game and beat it. There is now war exhaustion. More war exhaustion. It was already a thing, but now it works.
I see. Okay, that's interesting, because it's definitely something that was there in other games of.
Well, there was kind of war exhaustion. If you had pacifistic civilians, they would very quickly get unhappy if you were in war too long. So that was kind of the semi war exhaustion. But now everyone is going to kind of feel it a little bit.
I see.
So that's kind of the mechanic that's going to put a hard counter on pacifists now, is they're going to have a really hard time staying in war. The next thing is star bases and system occupation, which is actually the image that is up here. So star bases like claim nearby star systems.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you'll want to level them up. And I mean, we really don't know much about this system. It's a very complex system as opposed to systems they've shown us before.
Yes, complex systems have a tendency to be complicated because they are systems.
People die when they're killed. And so expansionists play like, I don't know. I'm very iffy about this change because it feels like they've finally just given up and decided to make Europa Universalis in space.
You know what? Europa Universalis is a good game. So if you're doing stuff like that, I think it's okay.
Okay, well, there's at least one guy in Poland that agrees with them on this, so that's good. Star Wars Battlefront 4. They're calling it 2, but it's the 4th Battlefront game.
I fucking hate that. I hate when publishers or developers name their game not in order.
Yeah,
because
for instance, they just came out with Call of Duty World War II, which is basically a remake of Call of Duty, which, as some people might remember, was originally a World War II shooter.
Yep.
This notion that it's not is kind of bullshit.
Yeah, future historians are going to have a lot of problems trying to organize this shit.
It's like if they remade Star Wars Battlefront again and called the first one Star Wars Shooter. Star Wars Battlefront 1. Star Wars Shooter. And speaking of Star Wars Battlefront 4, they're abusing loot crates.
So yeah, loot crates are basically the new block in the game development industry. Everybody wants to have a piece of the loot crate pie, as long as it's legal.
Pretty much. And so they're doing the typical douchebag company thing where not only... apparently, this is one of the first times I've seen where if you pre-order, you only get to play for 10 hours.
Wait, you buy
Yes.
a fucking demo?
Yes, you have pre-ordered a demo.
Holy fuck! How is that legal?
And I can see why they think that this would be a good idea. Oh, we don't want people to tire themselves out on our game before it comes out. That would be bad. And of course, the real reason is they don't want people to grind it the entire game and have a bunch of loot crate stuff when the game goes live. Because the primary mechanic here is loot crate progression.
StarCraft actually did something like that too, because actually StarCraft soon will be free, and you will be able to get the DLCs for free. For example, if you have the original, you can get Heart of the Swarm for free, and if you have Heart of the Swarm, you can get the Protoss pack for free.
Oh, awesome! I'll finally be able to play the Protoss pack, because I have Heart of the Storm and the Raynor campaign, but I didn't get a chance to play Void, so
yeah,
I'll be able to play Void.
The reason why I'm mentioning that is that StarCraft Blizzard actually decided that that will cause an influx of new gamers, and they're going to put a limit on those new gamers, preventing them from getting into ranked matches unless they play for 10 days consecutively.
Oh, so they're putting okay, consecutively?
Yes. You have to...
That I don't agree with, but the play for a certain amount of time to unlock ranked, I think that should actually be in MOBAs, because otherwise you get people like me that go, yeah, I've played a MOBA before, and then they jump right into the ranked and get their ass kicked in.
That's basically what they what's the plan. However, I think that they're trying to do this in order to discourage also the asshole players who, if they are banned, just make a new account.
Yeah.
So this basically forces them to play for 10 days straight if they want to re-enter the ranked system.
And that's pretty clever. I like that. What I don't like is having to buy fucking loot crates if I wanna pretend to be Luke Skywalker.
Yes.
like
these things came for free back in the day.
Like, remember when you could when the first time I bought Battlefront 2, you got all the content for playing the game. Apparently now this Battlefront 2, you have to fucking grind for hours if you want to play the game. And this disgusting grind for content thing, like what happened? Because we went from, we have to include more content in our game, to we'll include the same amount of content, we'll just make it so they can't get to it in one sitting. And it feels like a very, very clumsy way of solving the problem without solving the problem.
Yep.
Because they went, well, we could just make more content, but then we'd have to keep making more content, and that costs money. So obviously, we make the same amount of content and just sell it back to you in chunks.
And that's bullshit.
And the reason for this is everyone kept bitching about DLC, so obviously we had to come up with a different way to bilk you.
I long for the days where games were a simple kind of thing. You basically went to the store, you bought yourself a game, and that was the entire experience.
Yeah.
No bullshit, no microtransactions, no DLCs, no day one patches, nothing. You bought the game, it worked out of the box, and you could just play it.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm old.
Cough, hack, die. Anyways, yeah, I'm really disappointed in this, because I feel like AAA games are just forever out of my reach, because I don't have the kind of income to do this shit.
Fortunately, there are a lot of options for you as a PC gamer.
Yeah, as a PC gamer, I have a ton of options. That's the great thing about this. Yeah, I miss out on playing a shooter game with loot boxes, but I can just as easily play a different shooter game without loot boxes. And it would be essentially the same fucking thing.
Yep. It's... there are so many games and developers on PC that allow you to create for you the exact experience that you want to have. And if you don't want loot boxes, there are shooters out there, games that have AAA quality that do not have loot boxes.
Yeah.
Best example of that is the indie game where you're playing this Norse woman. What was it?
You have described so many games.
Norse woman? No, that's just one game.
It really isn't.
recent one, for fuck's sake, where you're going to hell.
Again, that is not specific at all.
Give me a
A
second.
Norse woman. Are you talking about Jotun?
Yes. No, not Jotun. That psychological horror one.
See, that's why I just made fun of you, because you have described two things that describe a lot of games.
But not together.
Yeah, Jotun is about a Norse woman who dies and goes to Norse hell, yes.
No. Well, yes, but the one that I meant is different. For fuck's sake.
Alright.
Continue. I'm going to search.
I'm going to Google Norse woman goes to hell game, and I'm going to make fun of you. Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice.
There you go.
It was the top. She.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she's Celtic.
Celtic?
Yes.
Interesting.
Cause yeah, they're Norse and Celts are two different things.
Yes, Celts are, I believe, somewhere from England / France, and Norse are
medieval
from
Europe. Well, Norse are
Northern Europe, yeah, Scandinavia, yeah,
Scandinavian, up there, yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, and this is a very good game. Hellblade is an amazing game made by indie developers and has AAA graphics qualities, is amazing, is artistically pleasing, and has no microtransactions. And was made by a quarter of the fucking price.
Moving on.
Because the fucking 60% of the game budget is fucking marketing. I shit you not.
No, that's true.
This is bullshit.
Yeah, well, this is actually true of most AAA games, is they're spending far more on marketing than they are on the actual game, and that's their problem.
Mm-hmm.
So, moving on, the creators of the Humvee are suing Activision because Humvees are in video games.
How dare Humvees be in video games?
And they are in almost every military game imaginable. Squad has them. The original Call of Duty
Arma has
had
it.
them. Operation Flashpoint, which became Arma, had them. Like, the very first mission in Operation Flashpoint is driving your buddies in a Humvee to the battle site. Like, there's no argument that Call of Duty owns the Humvee plagiarism. But do you know what they do own? The money, Lebowski.
Yes, apparently the people who make Humvee want basically piece of Activision pie.
Yeah, they basically went, you know what? Our cars are in so many fucking video games, we need a cut of that. So they decided they are going to sue Activision on behalf of all Humvees in all video games everywhere. No, I'm serious. There's no logical argument here that you can possibly say this was for any benefit other than their wallets.
Yes, as a technicality, you can copyright something like a Humvee, right? However, you cannot copyright a off-road vehicle.
Yeah. Basically, the logic here is that the Humvees and all those other games, they look generic enough where they're not you can't look at them and go, oh, that's obviously a Humvee. You go, oh, it's a Jeep, or oh, it's a scout car. But here, they are quite clearly military Humvees lifted out of reality. So that's why they're going, we get to sue you.
Which is bullshit. But things like that happen.
It happens. And it's funny as all they had to do was give them a different paint job. All they had to do was just give them a slightly different appearance. All they had to do was just do little minor things that would have made it parody law and thus admissible. But they didn't. So they get sued because they are idiots.
I have mixed feelings on that because as much as I hate Activision and as much as I want them to fail at that particular lawsuit, I don't think it's
it's going to set a very bad precedent.
Yeah.
Because how American law works is entirely off of what was allowed before. That's why we're kind of screaming and yelling at our political system right now, because they're looking at us and going, what are you talking about? Corruption is how this country works. And we're going, but we don't want that to be true. And they're going, well, tough, that's how it works. And that's because that's how our legal system works. If it happens before, it happens again. So if they set the precedent that the car companies are allowed to sue games that have realistic looking cars, then I mean, realistically, this only affects AAA publishers because they're the ones that tend to do this. But if some Joe Schmo were to put in a realistic looking Ferrari in his game, he could get sued, and that's not cool.
Yeah, as a technicality, what you say is true. Law works based on the precedent. However, if Congress basically can undo the precedent.
Yeah,
they can create a new law
the ones with the power to slap down precedent. And they often do so because the precedent is so antiquated that the new way is just better.
If old people are not in power, of course.
Yeah.
Cough, cough, conservatives. Cough, cough.
Republicans. Back in my day, slavery was legal, so that's why it has to stay legal. Gramps, you're racist. What are you talking about?
There is no such a thing as racism.
I'm a product of my time.
Is your grandpa 200 years old?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, if we're talking about my grandpa, old Cousino, then he's at least 120 right now. The other thing,
that's a lot.
Well, he's dead.
I see.
Yeah, he is not of the mortal coil. And about speaking of my dead grandpa, now is time for answers that nobody wanted.
Your dead grandpa is giving us answers nobody wanted? Or questions for those answers?
You know, it kind of depends on the day sometimes. Sometimes it generates answers, sometimes it just sometimes it actually answers them. We never know.
Let's see. What do we have?
What do we have? Help! The DM is permanently keeping everyone at the same XP. Hey guys, this is my first real campaign that I've been part of, but after last week's session I've become pretty disheartened because our DM's decision to keep everyone at the same XP. We started a month ago and this is probably our 5th session. We have 7 members. This time we had the entire group present. One member had messed up missed the last 2 weeks, another just missed last week. Third member just shows up every time, but is playing a new character. While they were absent, we were given XP, gain levels, but at the end of the 5th session, we were rewarded with XP again, but everyone's the same level now. This immediately troubles me, as I felt like the work I put in over the last month didn't amount to anything. I expressed my concern, everyone told me to shut the fuck up. They said things like, "Don't you want the group as a whole to be more powerful?" Nobody spoke on my side. The DM made it clear that he wanted to keep this and continue to have this kind of policy. We also share gold found on looting enemies, and individuals are not rewarded for acting in character or defeating significant enemies. I am a competitive person by nature, and I'm motivated by progression. Had to let the dog in. I am motivated by putting in work to improve myself without any real reward punishment system. I feel less immersed. So here's the thing, is he is right in that everyone is telling him he is wrong. Everyone. There are 58 comments here, and the majority of them are, "You're an entitled prick! How dare you want to play the game as it was designed?"
God damn it, this feels like a fucking socialist central. Everybody wants everything to be averaged out so that everyone is on the same level. Bullshit!
Yeah, I know. What the fuck? Gygax is rolling around in his fucking grave right now. Oh my god.
Experience exists so that people level up. And you have to be rewarded for playing in character, because that's one of the cores of the game. It's a role-playing game. You are rewarded for role-playing.
So I don't know what edition this is, but I'm going to assume it's 5th because that's just kind of what everyone is playing now. And if it's 5th, then they see. Here's where this fallacy falls apart. This whole "we have to be as strong as possible" fallacy. This edition doesn't work that way. How encounters are built is you take the amount of players you have and what level they are. This gives you an XP budget. This is how it's worked ever since 4th edition. So there's no logic to "we have to be as strong as possible," because that actually only makes the fight harder. It's a illusion. This isn't a video game. You don't always fight the same enemies over and over again at specific levels.
And if you are fighting enemies that are under your level, it's boring.
Yes. People want to fight hard battles. That's why I exclusively budget for deadly battles, and they still do very well. Like, there's people who think this way have only been a player. They do not know what it means to balance for a player group. So that's why we're making fun of the people that are disagreeing with this guy, because this guy is 100% right.
By the way, answer for this guy, I can tell you flat out right now. Dude, find a new group. Ditch these fuckers.
Your group sucks.
Yes. They do not know how the game works.
They do not know what game they're playing. They think they're playing a war game where they just get stronger every time. What they're actually playing is something called Dungeons and Dragons. It's a game where you pretend to be a fantasy character, go into dungeons, amass loot and wealth and experience. It's okay if people are different levels. It's okay if people are different strength levels. It's okay.
Besides, if you're better at the game, you should be rewarded for it.
Yeah, what's this no reward for significant enemies bullshit? If someone defeats a significant enemy, they should get rewarded by a treasure item, by something.
And if someone is not playing the game, they should not be rewarded for it.
Absolutely. Like, when we were playing 3.5, if you did not show up, you didn't get jack shit. I did not give you a damn thing. I would give you a little pity XP to keep you somewhat on the same page, but I would not force level you to the same amount of XP.
Yes.
In fact, what I would often do is if you missed a few games, you'd get a couple levels, but you would not be as strong as the people that were there every week.
Mm-hmm.
And they were okay with it because that's punishment.
Mm-hmm. I still think you were a little bit too generous. They shouldn't get nothing.
Well, we were playing 3.5. If I let them fall into obscurity, they really would be useless. Like, if this was 5th edition, yeah, I'd go, fuck you. You were in a tavern drunk. You did not get experience.
All you got is a hangover.
You got a hangover and you lost money. But no, seriously, I agree with this guy in that they should not be coddled for being casuals.
Yes, they should be given experience for role playing. They should be given experience for defeating encounters. They should be given experience for dealing with heroic situations.
Yeah.
And if someone's not there, they're not getting that experience. If someone is there and is doing a good job, then they should be rewarded. That's how this game works. That's the reason why you play, why you have multiple players. Otherwise, you could use you could have one person play every class.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Because
there has to be an element of competition between players.
I cannot stress this enough. If everyone's the same, then no one is special. That's why that's why I hated 4th edition, because you just played the same thing over and over again, but with different abilities. That's why I really am glad that they made it so archetypes are just part of leveling up. There's not this prestige class bullshit anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's a refreshing new edition of Dungeons and Dragons, and people are trying to play it like it was 3.5 when it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Or worse, they're trying to play it like 4th and it's not. Like, again, this guy needs to find a new DM. This DM is no good. He thinks he's playing 4th
I think
edition.
he should ditch the entire party.
Well, yeah,
not just the DM.
Well, in finding a new DM, he's finding a new party. Yeah, because they're not going to change. They're stuck in their ways.
Yeah. It's... I know where that kind of sentiment comes from. Why they want that kind of
yeah, we understand why they want to be like that. They want to be like that because they like the experience of just stomping monsters with no resistance. They love the feeling of just all this positive reinforcement, the gold, the treasure, the loot, but they don't want any of the negative reinforcement. They don't want to feel failure. They don't want to get beaten. They don't want to lose money.
But without threat, it's basically like jacking off. You at the end of the day, you feel it's empty.
Absolutely. That's why the Gygaxian method, we make fun of it like it's so fire and brimstone, but really, he understood the concept of negative reinforcement. If you don't do well, you want to do better.
Mm-hmm. Not only that, it actually made all that reward, that positive reinforcements that you talk about, actually mean something. I remember, like, whenever I get this rare item when I was playing 3.5, I knew that I fucking deserved it. I earned that item with hard work and cooperating with my pals.
Yeah.
And this is bullshit.
Yeah, like there's an item in Out of the Abyss that is a it's a sun sword called Dawnbringer. It is a sentient sun sword. And this is an optional encounter. You don't always get the sun sword. And the thinking behind the sun sword is in case someone wants to play like a human, that's who should get the sun sword, because that way they can actually see in the fucking Underdark. Because the sun sword has this gimmick where she's actually afraid of the dark.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually incredibly interesting thing about when it comes to
Imagine
lore.
how boring it would be if you just get handed Dawnbringer at the start of the encounter, at the adventure.
Yeah, but also I enjoy the idea of an item being afraid of the dark. It's so imaginative.
Yeah.
Right now, you're not getting stuff like that. You're not getting those quirky, weird items that do stuff and have their own personality.
Yeah, like there's one game where I gave the party a sentient bag of holding that was an old man who was like very forgetful and wizened. I am John Knock, the ever-knowing. Yes. And I gave them a sheet, and it was a special bag of holding that could also sort coins.
Mm-hmm. Ooh!
It had a mini bag on top of it that could sort coins. And I just love that about 5th edition. They encourage you to make wacky magical items. Because the 4th edition method of, it's between adventures, I pay 4,000 gold and I get the +2 sword.
Yay, a +2 sword.
Yeah, yay. Woo. Where you slayed the wraith of the old spellcaster. You hear, help, I'm in here, get me out. And you open it and it's a sword hilt. And you're like, what the fuck is this? Help me, pick me up. You pick it up and it goes cool.
Basically a lightsaber.
It's a lightsaber.
Sentient. Sentient lightsaber.
It is a sentient lightsaber, yes. Now to be fair, guy, I will bet you that's always been in the game since 2nd edition. Because remember, came out around the same time as Star Wars. So I'm willing to bet that's been in the game.
Yes. Star Wars was like 70s, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of computer entertainment happened after that.
Mm-hmm. That's why there's Star Wars references in like a lot of early video games.
I think the only one, I think I know only one game that was before Star Wars, and that's Zork.
Yeah, and Zork itself is a meme. Yeah.
Yes.
Careful, you might get eaten by a Gru. Oh, wow, that is such a deep cut reference now. Imagine it.
Nobody gets that. None of those fetuses get that.
Yeah, you just whip that out on people. Is if you're in the dark, just say, watch out, you might get eaten by Gru, and then count the amount of people that get it. What's a Gru? Nobody knows. They're always in the dark.
So yeah,
That's the joke.
our advice, our answer that you didn't want, find yourself a new team.
Yeah, that really is an answer that you wouldn't want. Is find a new group, and it sounds a little nuclear, but honestly, if you're not having fun and you feel they're not playing the way you want to play, find someone who does. It's not as because honestly, this is the game. This is the way. What you're asking for is how D&D used to work.
Mm-hmm.
However, now everyone wants to play it easy mode.
Yes, because we live in this culture of self-gratification. We prefer to basically get everything without an inch of effort, and we kind of feel like we accomplished something, and that feeling is often very empty.
Now to be fair,
But if they have fun, then let them have fun, and you just
because
find
they
your
are
own
playing
way.
the game legitimately. It's called milestone leveling. There's also Xanthor's Guide to Everything has checkpoint leveling, which works off of time played. You might want to take a look at milestone leveling because that's an interesting one because that's off of personal player checkpoints, I believe. I don't know, but yeah, that is a way to play the game. However, it is not the stock way to play the game. If you want to play the game stock, that's how it works. Is every player tracks their experience individually, and there are ways to outlevel people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And out-leveling someone is not a bad idea. Why? Because levels tend to cost more XP the more you have it, the more you have them. So they will eventually catch up with you.
They really will because because there are ways to catch up. Also using downtime days. If you keep collecting downtime days through such as by not showing up to games, then you can use the downtime days to catch up some levels. Like there are mechanics to benefit because remember, this game was designed mostly to be played at friendly local gaming stores once a week.
Mm-hmm.
They're really big on the Adventure League in this edition, so they put in plenty of mechanics to catch up, so to speak.
Makes sense.
Anyways, that's our show.
Thank you all for joining.
Yes.